Dark Souls 2. Man, this game, bro. The year was late 2019 or early 2020. I don't know. I forgot a bunch of shit throughout that time period for some reason. I've just finished Dark Souls 1 and that was after finishing Dark Souls 3. So I was wondering if I should give Dark Souls 2 a try. So I checked out a couple videos and reviews and oh man, most of them were bashing it, calling it bad, saying that it's the worst in the series. Like, the game was getting trash talked so much to the point where I was wondering if it caused someone's divorce or some shit. I don't know. Anyways, another thing that didn't help that much was the fact that there were two versions of the game. Scholar of the First Sin, which is basically the updated version of the game, and the original, which, you know, is just the original. This made my 16 to 17 year old brain confused for some reason. Anyways, I still gave the game a try and I remember completing it, and yeah, that's it. I forgot everything about it. I don't know why, but my memory was just so bad for some reason. But I did remember me not liking it that much compared to 1 and 3. However, fast forward to September or October 2022, yeah, this year, I decided to give the game another try after watching Feeble King's video. In his video, he mentioned a bunch of stuff, and I was curious to see if I would have the same issues as he did. And since a lot of the comments, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but a decent amount of them were disagreeing with him, I don't know. I thought he was tripping, so I gave the game another try, and yeah, I did agree with him on most things. I was genuinely surprised that there were so much things I agreed on, but then I decided to play the game again on a new character with a different weapon, and then realized that I actually enjoyed the game way more this time. There were still some bullshit areas such as that one underground area and the Fume Night DLC. I forgot the name. Remember, terrible ass memory. But since I knew the enemy placements and how to deal with them, I breezed through it easily. Now this led me to create this video wondering, did Dark Souls 2 really deserve the hate that it got? Or were people just being too hard on it because it didn't live up to, you know, their high expectations, or maybe because they didn't give it a second chance or whatever? No, I'm gonna go over a few things that many people had or still have problems with when it comes on to Dark Souls 2. This includes the story, the gameplay, and the level design. In each of these points, I will state whether or not the hate is justifiable. Yeah, did I say that right? I don't know. I have some weird grammar issues. Anyways, let's get started. Starting with the story. To be honest, while I do think that Dark Souls 2's story is the weakest out of the 3 games, I still wouldn't put it as one of the reasons why I didn't like the game as much as the other two. Mostly because this is very subjective, because while I may not like the story that much, I know for a fact that a decent amount of people actually do. So I don't know. I don't think the story being somewhat meh compared to the other games mean that it should get hate. But let's be honest, while there's definitely a lot of people who don't like the story that much, I don't think that's the biggest reason why a lot of people don't like this game, nor I don't think it's a justifiable reason to hate it as well. So let's move on to the gameplay. Now, there are some things I personally hate gameplay wise about this game. You know, scratch that. Not some, a lot of things that I don't like, and I know a lot of people will agree with most of these things I'm about to say, but let's see if the things that I didn't like about the game is the sole reason why this game gets a lot of hate. Now, Dark Souls 2 gameplay is definitely the weakest in my opinion. The combat is slow and feels a bit clunky compared to the first game. The healing is also pretty slow because most of the time it feels like you don't have a chance to heal in a boss fight, because once you do, they just start attacking you. The hitboxes are pretty bad, especially considering the fact you have to level up adaptability, and also it's basically impossible to hit these fucking little bitch ass these little shits, bro, with a regular weapon. Now, I'm gonna rule out the things that I don't think are the sole reason why the gameplay or the game itself is bad. First would be the hitboxes. Don't get me wrong, they're pretty bad, but at the same time, if you level up your adaptability to 25, you're pretty much good throughout the rest of the game. Sure, there'll still be some weird, you know, what the fuck moments, like, you know, but other than that, you're still pretty much good. And the next thing I'm gonna rule out is the slow combat. While I do think that the combat is pretty slow and clunky, it's definitely not the main reason why I think a lot of people don't like the gameplay that much. So that leaves us with the healing. And look, I know, you're probably like, what the fuck? The healing isn't a problem in this game, and even if it was, it's definitely not the main reason why people didn't like the gameplay that much. And to that, I have to say, just chill out, just hear me out for a bit, please. Throughout this whole game, I was wondering why I didn't like the gameplay that much compared to the other games. I was wondering, is it the shitty hitboxes, or the slow combat, but I realized that I was thinking too big and not looking at the real problem, which is the slow ass healing. Bro, trying to heal in this game got me killed way more times than the other issues that I've listed. When it comes on to the bosses like the Smelter Demons, Fume Knight, and Suralon, healing can feel a bit impossible at times because, as I stated before, as soon as you try to heal, the bosses, even if the bosses had their back turns towards you, but for some reason they just unlock Katakyu's fucking observation hockey and they just attack you. Like, they just knew you were gonna heal and they just attack you. And once they hit you, that will fuck up your whole flow and it will eventually cause you to die. So yeah, the slow healing. And the last thing I'm gonna mention is the level design. And one of the main things I see people complain about related to the level design is that it's not as interconnected as Dark Souls 1. And to that I have to say, I mean, it's subjective. Like, it's your opinion if you don't like the level design because of that, but I don't know. That's not a good reason to hate on this game. Because while I did like Dark Souls 1 interconnectivity, having to run back and forth between areas before unlocking the Lord Vessel got a bit tedious at times. So having the option to fast travel the areas in the beginning of Dark Souls 2 wasn't a bad thing in my opinion. And since I played Dark Souls 3 before Dark Souls 2, this didn't affect me that much. No, the next thing I'm about to mention is most likely going to be the biggest reason why a lot of people don't like this game, and it's the enemy placements. To keep it above, Dark Souls 2 has the worst enemy placements in the entire Soulsborne franchise. Demon Souls coming in at second place. There are just so much bullshit ass enemies in some of the levels. Like, for example, Hyde's Tower of Flame. Trying to get to that fake ass Ornstein boss can be so fucking infuriating since you have to deal with the big guys and the small ones as well. A couple other areas I would like to mention is the Iron Keep, the Suralon Runback, and the Shrine of fuck, I don't care. These levels were filled with a clusterfuck of enemies. It felt like I was playing a zombie horde game with the slow ass combat of Dark Souls 2. This is when I felt like the devs are just trying to make the game hard for the sake of being hard instead of fun and challenging. So the three things most people hated about this game is the story, the slow healing, to be fair that was mostly a me thing, and the enemy placements. But which one of these things is the main reason why I think the game gets the amount of hate that it gets? I'ma just say it right now, it's definitely the enemy placements. I feel like a lot of people wouldn't care if the game had all these problems, but with better enemy placements. Don't get me wrong, it would still be considered the weakest Souls game, but I feel like people wouldn't hate it as much. Now, do I think the game deserves the hate it gets because of the frustrating enemy placements? Well, it's kind of a complicated answer. While the frustrating enemy placements is definitely the biggest reason why I and a lot of people don't like this game that much, it's the other annoying aspects that helps contributes to the player's frustration as well. Let me see if I can explain this in a better way. Think of the player's stress as a loading bar, just like Mob from Mob Psycho. The enemy placement would contribute to around 70% of the player's stress, and the other things such as the slow healing, lack of iframes, and hitboxes would boost it up to around 100%. To be honest, I don't know why the fuck I just used that analogy. I just wanted to mention Mob Psycho, I guess. I don't know. So, to answer the main question of this video, is Dark Souls 2 overhated? I would have to say it's a bit 50-50 for me. Yeah, I know it's a lame ass answer, but just hear me out. Because while I do believe that there are some people that shit on it for the stupidest reason, I do also think that a lot of the criticism the game gets is justifiable. So yeah, at the end of the day, this isn't a bad game. Sure, maybe if you're like me, you will hate it on your first playthrough, but if you give the game another try and take it a bit slower, you'll realize that the game is quite enjoyable at times. And yeah, that's the end of the video.